Just a few decades ago, keeping track of your money required physical effort. You had to sit down, balance a paper checkbook, and manually record every single dollar that left your account. Today, that friction is gone. We carry high-speed spending machines in our pockets, where a single tap bypasses any moment of reflection. Modern buy now, pay later services and the constant cycle of crypto trading have engineered an environment that punishes patience. It prioritizes the instant dopamine hit of acquiring things today over the slow process of building stability for tomorrow. When you're constantly bombarded with the highlights of everyone else's lifestyle while drowning in easy credit, it's easy to assume the financial system is rigged. The modern digital economy excels at extracting wealth through debt. Because that cycle is so relentless, millions of people surrender to the myth that true wealth is strictly reserved for trust fund kids. But the data tells a different story. Financial educator Dave Ramsey and his team recently conducted the largest study of millionaires ever recorded, surveying over 10,000 wealthy individuals. This chart breaks down how those fortunes were made. Out of 100 millionaires, 89 inherited absolutely nothing, building their net worth from scratch. For the fraction who did receive family money, those inheritances arrived long after they crossed the $1 million threshold on their own. The true starting point for these fortunes had nothing to do with a rich relative. 97% of the self-made millionaires in the study believed they controlled their own financial destiny. It is a psychological prerequisite that echoes Henry Ford's observation: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. The data reveals a predictable blueprint. Building generational wealth begins the moment you take internal responsibility for your outcome. That blueprint starts with a defensive play, actively rejecting consumer debt and living below your means to create a gap between what you earn and spend. People often try to rationalize overspending by pointing to expensive coastal cities. But the math of a budget does not change based on your zip code. If you make $60,000 and buy a $2 million house, the numbers will crush you regardless of where you live. Committing to a massive mortgage just to keep up appearances leaves you house poor. It consumes every dollar of your monthly income, leaving nothing for saving, investing, or generosity. To get out of that trap, you have to make small, deliberate lifestyle sacrifices. It means driving the older car and skipping the convenient upgrades to generate a reliable monthly surplus. Without that defensive posture, you have no fuel. If you don't eliminate debt to carve out a profit margin in your own household, you cannot start the wealth-building engine. Once you have that margin, you switch to the offensive play. This means taking 15 to 25% of every paycheck and automatically routing it into long-term investments before you ever see it. This graph maps wealth accumulation over time. Notice the first 10 years. The trajectory is stubbornly flat, a psychological trap where most give up. But keep grinding and you hit critical mass. Here, compound interest takes over the heavy lifting, sending the curve vertical. When your portfolio reaches this point, a standard return can generate more in a single year than you might earn in a decade of manual labor. Your money is finally working harder than you are. Survival through the boring phase builds extreme wealth. It requires no complex algorithms or sophisticated shortcuts. It simply requires enough time for the math to work. Building wealth is only half the equation. Keeping it introduces a paradox. People who receive massive, sudden windfalls rarely hold on to them for long. Consider lottery winners or young NFL draft picks who sign multi-million-dollar bonuses straight out of college. Statistically, a high percentage of these individuals end up bankrupt within just a few years. Sudden wealth skips the developmental phase. Because the money arrived in a flash, the individual never had to develop the habits and delayed gratification required to manage large sums of capital. The steady, grinding habits that build wealth are the exact same tools required to protect it from evaporating. Ultimately, this system moves far beyond your personal bank account. The end game is generational impact. There is an entire generation growing up right now, known as financial peace babies, who are absorbing these habits simply by watching their parents live on a budget and invest consistently. Adhering to this mathematical blueprint rewrites your family tree. This commitment creates a permanent legacy of stability that will outlive your own career.